Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make NBA DFS content. As always, all these videos that get posted over to a subreddit, I'll have that link down below if you're looking for more in-depth content. All my Discord link down below. If you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter right here. I'll have that link down below. So let's go over my lineups the last 2 days. Um, yeah, we can go over last 3 days. This was yesterday, I believe. I just didn't have Jalen Smith, so that killed me. This was 2 days ago, pretty good day, and then this was 3 days ago, okay day. I think I won a little bit of money this day. All right, let's hop in. I am losing my voice, and my throat's getting sore, so I'm hoping I am not getting sick here. But yeah, Michael Porter Jr., Igor Demon, Terrence Mann were out for the game tonight. If we get a similar situation to this tomorrow, I'm going to like a decent amount here, and it's certainly not going to be a fun time, like, at all. But the matchup is so good. They're going to be thin. They're going to have to play their guys. I think there would be a good amount to like here. So we can go over what the Nets did. First off, they started Danny Wolf at the point. I know in the underdog lineup it didn't like say he was at the point, but he started at the point. So let's look. Yeah. Danny Wolf, I would just absolutely love. If we get a similar situation here and he starts at the point, like, would absolutely love Danny Wolf. Would be one of my favorite plays in the board. Noah Clowney really would be really, really good. I absolutely would love Claxton. Cam Thomas coming off the bench and on a limit. Really tough to prioritize, but I wouldn't be shocked if he went for like 50 fantasy points in this matchup in like 25 minutes. Definitely in play. Day'Ron Sharpe at 3.7K, firmly in play. Nolan Traore at 3.4K, firmly in play as well. I think there would be a ton to like here. Tyrese Martin, Jalen Wilson, like you can get into like all the starters and all the bench guys if you wanted to, if we get a similar situation here, just because the matchup is just so good. They kind of spread out the minutes tonight. I know it blew out, but Danny Wolf 29, Jalen Wilson 23, Nolan Traore 26. Drake Powell started. He played 25. He'd be my least favorite. I'd rather just play the bench guys. Noah Clowney going to chuck when he's out there, so there would be a good amount to like here. Yeah, if we get like Michael Porter Jr. in and we get Igor Demon, Terrence Mann out, and we still get like Danny Wolf in the starting lineup, I still really like Danny Wolf. Then I would love MPJ. Cam Thomas would be tougher to click at that point. Still would have interesting. Claxton would be really good to me. Still would have interesting. Clowney. Duran's back. If any of you guys played Duran, that's good news. And then I'd probably be less interested in like the bench guys. And then if we get everyone in here, I like Michael Porter Jr. I like Claxton. Cam Thomas would be a tough click. I still think Danny Wolf is viable, and then Noah Clowney is viable as well, but nowhere near must or anything like that. All right, let's move on to Washington. Keyshawn George is going to remain out for this game. Last game we got C.J. McCollum, Trey Johnson, Black Coulibaly, Chris Middleton, and Alex Sarr. One thing I do want to note here is Trey Johnson's been on a minutes limit, but they did get him up to 28 minutes last game. The Brooklyn Nets like to double lead guards, so if they're going to double C.J. McCollum here and leave Trey Johnson open, which I'm not sure they do, like, I think at this point, like, you might be better off just doubling Trey Johnson. But yeah, I really like Trey Johnson here at 4.4K. Especially if they're going to double like CJ and leave him open, really good shooter. So I love him tomorrow. Great spot if they do that. Chris Middleton's a little bit interesting, but he's been remaining on a minutes limit, so it's tough to click. Black Coulibaly's just been nothing short of incredible. I don't mind him, especially if they're going to double like the guards. It opens up stuff for like the secondary guys here. But Trey Johnson definitely the best. I don't even think it's relatively close. Sarr's on a minutes limit, so it's once again tough to prioritize, but it's a good spot and he can get it done in limited time for sure. All right, Victor Wembanyama out. Devin Vassell are going to remain out for this one. So going up against the Pacers, it's going to be interesting here. Could we see a little bit more small ball? Obviously, they're going to start Luke Cornett at the 5. But do you guys remember when Wemby was out and they were starting Cornett and they would flip-flop Kelly Olynyk and Jeremy Sochan? I don't even think Sochan's been in the rotation of late. He hasn't. So interesting to see what they want to do with the backup five here. They could play small. I don't think it's going to be viable in a DFS setting though. But Luke Cornett looks great at $4,000. Not going to say he's an absolute must on this slate, but looks great. Um, Champagny was in a really, really good spot. I think this is an okay spot. It's not as good. He was in the best possible matchup in this spot, but with no Wemby, no Vassell, he's going to get a bump in minutes. Same with Keldon Johnson, so I like those two. Dylan Harper was a bit underwhelming last game, got benched because of it. Interesting bounce back candidate, but not someone I'm going to prioritize here. And I really, really like both Castle and Fox. No Wemby, no Vassell. The offense is just going to thrive through these two. So both really good plays to me. And then I think Champagny and Keldon are really, really interesting as well. With those two out, they're going to have to play a bit more. All right, let's move on to the Indiana side. T.J. McConnell is listed at questionable. Isaiah Jackson is out. J Huff's playable. I think there's better values that we'll get to in a little bit, or guys that we've already gone over. No Wemby, so the matchup should be a lot better here for guys like Benedict Mathurin and Pascal Siakam. Mathurin's been a big letdown of late. Interesting bounce back candidate for me at 6'4". Siakam at 7'9". Like, they're playable. I think Nembhard's just my favorite at 6.3K. Really good point per minute guy that's going to stuff the stat sheet, and the matchup just got a lot better with no Victor Wembanyama on the other side of this game. Still not an amazing spot, but definitely something better. All right, here we go. Jokic out, Aaron Gordon out, Jonas out, Cam Johnson out, Christian Braun out, Jamal Murray probable. So, Jamal Murray wasn't as good of a play last night because the Toronto Raptors, they doubled the number one options, and he was put in hell. Cleveland, they like to play more one-on-one. So I think Jamal is great here. Peyton Watson, I think, is great. It's a really good spot for him. Tim Hardaway Jr. is playable. Really good spot for, like, three-point shooters here. So, like, Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Jones. Deron Holmes should start at the 5, I would assume here. One of the best value plays on the board at 4.5K. Bruce Brown, I really like in GPPs at 4.3K. Pickett started last game. He played 28 minutes. He's perfectly viable. So these guys are really, really good plays. They ran it really tight last game, and now you have no Jonas Valanciunas. So they're probably going to have to insert like a Zeke Naji into the rotation. Or they could just play Deron Holmes like a ton tomorrow. So you're definitely going to want some Denver tomorrow. Deron Holmes, Jamal Murray, definitely my favorites, but I like Bruce Brown as well. All right, Cleveland side of things. If you're worried about blowout, you could just like fade the entire game outside of Deron Holmes. I don't think that's a bad idea, but if you're playing like a lot of the main Denver pieces like Peyton Watson and playing for a close game, I think Donovan Mitchell's the way to do that. Outside of that, I don't love too much else. Like Mobley, if we continue to get 30 minutes, is too cheap. Is a really, really good spot. So I think Mobley is actually kind of talking myself into Mobley as my favorite play, even on somewhat of a minutes limit. But I think Donovan Mitchell's good too. And if DeAndre Hunter, Sam Merrill out, you get a bump for Tyson. But I think there will definitely be better plays on this slate. Sorry, guys. Let's move on to Atlanta. Trae Young is listed as questionable. If he's out, we got Zachary Rishisher, Onyeka Okongwu, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. If he's out in a great spot, I'm going to love Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like, love, love, love. This is one of the best matchups you could possibly get for him. So I'd absolutely love him. I think Dyson would be great. Onyeka, fine spot. I would prefer Mitchell Robinson out on the other side of this game. And then Jalen is just the best spin up on the slate. It's like, how do you get away from Jalen Johnson at this point? And if Trae Young's in, I do like Trae, assuming he's not on like a hard limit this time. Still love Jalen. Still have interest in Naw, even off the bench. Still going to play over 30 minutes off the bench, and this matchup just doesn't get better. I don't love too much else. Like I can't get to Porzingis. I can't get to anything else. So, all right, let's move on to the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson's listed as questionable for this slate. Let me just make sure it's not doubtful. Come on, man. What is going on here? Questionable if he's out. Really good spot for Cat if he's out. So I love, love, love Cat if Mitchell Robinson's out. I think Brunson's fine, but I prefer Cat in this spot. And like OG McHale, they're all just like there for me. Miles McBride, well better value than that. That if Mitch is in, downgrade Cat, but I still have interest. And then everyone else is contrarian plays for me. Moving on to the Orlando side of things, still no Franz Wagner, but we did get Jalen Suggs back, so that kind of hurts. It makes Anthony Black playable. It does make Baines priced right. I love Paolo Banchero. I think he's one of my favorite spend ups in that upper 8K range. So love him. Really good spot for Wendell Carter Jr., so I'm interested there. I think he's a pretty good center play on the slate, and I'm not really too interested in much else with Suggs back. All right, moving on to Chicago. Josh Giddey, Kobe White out. They went with a weird lineup of starting Trey Jones, which is really interesting, and Jalen Smith, and having Herder Ayo off of the bench. But these guys are still not priced up enough with life without Giddey and Kobe White. Now, this is a really bad matchup, so I'm not going to call them must. But once again here, like, Vooch looks great. I would assume it looks great, even if he starts or comes off the bench. Matas Buzelis, solid value at 5.2. Trey Jones looks phenomenal. Great matchup for Trey Jones here. Regardless if he starts or comes off the bench. Jalen Smith looks great at $5,000. Kevin Huerter is a really bad matchup for, but a good value. Okoro, Patrick Williams, they're playable as well. I think once again, I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna call them must, but you're probably gonna want some Chicago value for sure. All right, moving on to Portland. Great spot here. Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson are all going to remain out for this one. Like I said, it's a great matchup up against the Pelicans. And we can take a look at what they did last game. Klingon, Denny, Shaden Sharp, Two-Man, and Kamara, City Sissoko, and you're mainly seeing Caleb Love off of the bench. Denny's up there as one of my favorite spend-ups. Him, Jalen Johnson, the Wombo combo. I absolutely, incredibly love both. I think Shaden Sharp's in a great spot here. I love him at 7.5K. Klingon, I think, is a great center play at 6.4K if you need it. Kamara, great spot but playable, and I do like some Caleb Love for value. Chris Murray in a large field setting, I think, is okay as well. It's someone I keep in your player pool for sure. I'm not going to play City Sissoko. All right, let's move on to the Pelicans. Queen, Sadiq Bey, both questionable. If they're both out, we're going to have more value here, like Missy, Kevon Looney. We also have to keep an eye on if Bryce McGowan is going to be available. If he is not available, that's going to be a significant bump for both Missy and Looney. They would have to play a ton in this spot. Yeah, they would have to play a lot up against Klingon. So, like, both of these values would be really good plays if Queen's out and we get Bryce McGowan's inactive. If we get Bryce McGowan's in, I still like both the bigs here. And then, yeah, Zion is just still way too cheap with him back starting and playing 30 minutes. Trey Murphy's playable. I don't love him. Jordan Poole has been nothing but amazing. He's going to be really popular tomorrow. I would like to be underweight to a chalk Poole. I don't want to play Poole and Fears together either because Poole is closing over him. And yeah, if Queen's out, I really like both the bigs and Missy and Kevon Looney. If everyone's in here, I think it's mainly just Zion for me and Poole and some interest in Trey Murphy. If McGowan's is out once again here, even with Queen in, I still think Missy and Looney are a little bit interesting because that does help those two guys quite a bit. All right, Charlotte, Miles Bridges listed as questionable or probable, I believe. It's so hard remembering all these tags. Yeah, probable. Musa is questionable. I mean, here we go. PJ Hall time. Saloon time if Moose is out. If Moose is out, they're going to be so thin on bigs. And last game, Moose got hurt. They played PJ Hall a decent amount. PJ Hall's not a bad point per minute guy either. So, like, similar to, like, Deron Holmes, it could be PJ Hall time. So he would look really good. Saloon would look really good. They just have no other bigs here. I love LaMelo in this spot. I think he's one of the best tournament plays in the slate. So absolutely love him. Miles, Brandon Miller, they're both fine. Same with Concanupo. I think LaMelo is definitely the best play there. And then, yeah, if Moose is out, I really like PJ Hall. I think Saloon you can get to as well. And then if Moose is in, I really like Musa. All right, Bucks, you can't play anyone here outside of, like, Giannis on a limit, who I have interest in this spot. And then KPJ and Ryan Rollins. But I prefer KPJ to Ryan Rollins. That's it. I'm not going to get to much else. Miles Turner's, like, okay, right? So it's mainly just, like, I like it. Giannis, definitely my favorite play, followed by Kevin Porter Jr. And then Rollins is playable, same with Miles Turner. All right, that's going to do it for the slate. Hope you guys had a great New Year's, and I will talk to you all later.